Swing arm is all painted. Came out really nice. This is the side that was all pitted up there from the stone chips and chloride, and that looks really, really good. You can see the camera and my reflection in the paint. Came out really nice. And I painted the skid pan too. And that came out really nice too. No pits or marks showing in it. Not even the scratches that were in the bottom from past rocks. It came out really nice. A little bit of a run in the paint, but this side's where the engine is, so it doesn't really matter. I actually just laid the paint on a little heavier in there. Came out really nice. Really super happy. These were the reflectors that one of these little brackets was broken and one of the reflectors was missing. They came out pretty nice. And this is the swing arm bolt. Polished it up a bit and even painted the grease caps for the swing arm. And the frame's ready to sandblast. I took the triple tree out, I took the bearing races out, got the tag off and the two little rivets out so I can put that back on. That's all the bearings. I'll clean them up so I can re-grease them. All the rubber grommets out of the frame. And as you can see, I think I've taken these videos over the course of several days. But I have been getting some of the assemblies back together. And I think it's kind of obvious why I took the frame in to have it bead blasted. It was because it doesn't fit in my cabinet. And they use glass beads too. I did have to break down and buy more beads for my cabinet. And this is what I use. It is 80, they call it mesh or 80 grit. And I get this at Tractor Supply. And I got this ready to shoot with primer. Those are bolts that hold the fenders on, or the front fender I should say, and they were pretty rusty, so I'm going to paint them. I'm going to prime them with the zinc chromate, and I'll probably paint them silver. But I'm going to get this primed up, zinc chromated, so I can paint it in the next day or two. That's for the steering lock. This will be low gloss black. I dropped the frame off yesterday at the powder coater strippers to have it sandblasted. I'm going to paint the frame. But I did drop it off to be sandblasted, and today I'm just going around buffing things out, and I put this somewhat back together. Just, assemblies that I can put together to where it's not too much together to keep from forgetting how things go together. I put the lock back in, cleaned that all up. And that came out pretty nice. The lock cylinder works nicely. So you put the key in, you turn it, push it in, turn it, take the key out, and it pushes this out into that doohickey on the frame so that the steering won't turn. And that unlocks the steering. So that's all together. The reflectors one of those was broken off, but they're back on. I cleaned up the bolts a bit just to make them look a little nicer. So the triple tree is pretty much all complete. The other part of the triple tree is there. This is the lower bearing, which is pretty clean. I had pretty good grease on it. That's the race out of the frame. I did knock the races out so they wouldn't get sandblasted. The other race is right there for this one. And that'll be an easy cleanup and re-grease. This is the upper race. This is the race that goes on that stem. This goes on this. And then this one is the one that goes in the frame, and they were really nasty, the upper ones, so I've been soaking them in lacquer thinner to get the old nasty grease and crud off, and the bearings are down in the bottom there. So I'm just going to let them soak a little while, clean them up, and they'll get all new grease when I put it together. So I'm glad I did take that apart. It did need to come apart to clean it up. I'm going to try and show how I buff out things like this so they look a little nicer. I mean, that's clean, but it's just kind of, I cleaned it in lacquer thinner, but it still kind of, looks dirty. So I'll show you how I clean them up to get them look a little better. And these washers don't come off, so you got to buff the washers with them on the bolt, which makes it a little harder. So I'm going to try and do this without getting stuff on my camera, but you get a little of this compound, and I get a lot of static shocks from this, so I lean against the metal bench, and then I don't get shocks. And then you just kind of run your bolt on here a little bit and turn it as you go, and as you can see, it's starting to clean up already. It doesn't take a lot to clean these bolts up, and I'm putting very little pressure on it. This is an engine mount bolt, but I just want to clean them up so they look a little nicer. And this is a little time consuming, but it's worth it. Why have a dirty looking bolt in there when you can have a nice looking bolt? I hope I'm not getting too much stuff on the camera here. This thing, so I put this cardboard here, it tends to flick stuff all up and down here. Now this was not a shiny bolt, this was a natural one, so I'm not going to go too hog wild on it. So now you can see kind of what it looks like just with that little bit. This bolt was actually a cleaner one than this one, and now this one's cleaner than that one. So that's why I just give them the quick buffing just to bring their original color back. I get a lot of questions on when I'm going to do my next project. I've been looking. I just haven't really seen anything worth doing. A lot of these cars need everything, are way overpriced. By the time I get done fixing them up, I'll have more money into the cars than what they're worth. I was looking at a 59 Chevy Parkwood station wagon. It was missing the engine, the transmission, and the seats. And the guy wanted $8,500 for it. He's out of his mind. The tailgate was rusted out. The floor pans were rusted out. The rest of the body was fairly solid. There was some rust in the bottom of the rear quarters. But it needed everything, 100% of everything. And, I told the guy, look, I'd give you $2,500, take it or leave it, because it's going to cost me money to get seats, get them shipped here. By the time I go to work, all the work of getting all the padding and batting and reupholster them, and the transmission that originally was a turbo glide, the shift linkage from the column to the turbo glide was still there, but the transmission was gone. So then you need to get all the shift linkage and kick down linkage and all that stuff. And the engine I wasn't too concerned about, and I'll show you why. This is kind of why I didn't care if that Parkwood had an engine in it or not. I got a Chevy 283 sitting here, ready to go. All it needs is a set of spark plug wires. It's got a remanufactured fuel pump and water pump, and the engine's 40 over. It's completely remanufactured engine. I even rebuilt the carburetor. You can't see the carburetor or anything up in there, but yeah, this thing's a ready to run engine. So seeing I have an engine sitting there ready, small block Chevrolet 283, ready to go, something like that Parkwood would have been nice for it. And I could have skipped out with a original transmission, put an automatic overdrive or something like that in it. But again, the guy was $5 grand over on his price for that car, for what it needed. That car just needed way too much work. And I'm not looking for I don't want to be like Cold War Motors Scott with that 60 Fury. That I've repaired some serious rust buckets in the past, but that one takes the cake. Cut the whole body off of a car and then weld another body to it, and then cut a quarter panel and all that rear section and weld it to it, and, you know, make 3 cars out of one. Now that's more than what I want to get involved in. And I just, you know, I don't mind putting floor pans in or fixing some rust, you know, or dents. That doesn't bother me. I just don't want something that you can walk through. I want a car that I can put back together in a reasonable amount of time with a reasonable amount of money. So I'll keep looking, and eventually something will come up. And when it does, everybody will be the second ones to know. The first ones obviously will be me, and then I'll make a video on it for everyone else. So as far as finding a car, you know, I want to find something that I like, a car that I want to restore, and something that would be fun that I'll enjoy, and then drive it for a season or two and then sell it like I did the Catalina. That's typically what I would do, is I like to buy cars, drive them a little bit, and then sell them. Hit the like button if you enjoyed my video. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.